What's up, everybody? Hang on, we got a little commercial we want to run here. All right, what's up, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome back to Bass 365 and our live cast show. We've been doing a bunch of them. We've been doing some for Yamamoto, Bill Lewis, Blazer Boats, a whole bunch of them. Tonight, we got a pretty interesting subject and something I think that a lot of guys have questions about. So we're gonna talk about it a little bit at first, and then we're gonna get into the meat of it with somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. Tonight's topic is lithium batteries. Bass 365 chooses Monster Marine Lithiums. Guys out of Arkansas, great people, and a special guest host to talk about what he puts them through, Mr. Zack Birge. So without making you guys have to listen to me too much longer, we're going to go ahead and get them on here. Zack, what's happening, buddy? How you doing?
Hey, man. Good. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, that little intro got a little off the rails on me there. Getting better at it every time.
Exactly.
So, Zack, as everybody knows, fishes Bass Pro Tour. Good friend of Bass 365, and personal buddy of mine. But he's hard on a boat. I mean, he gets everything out of it. I think this year running Blazer, we're going to see what a Blazer can do, and I promise you he's going to put those trolling motor batteries to the test.
Yeah. As you said hard. You said hard on a boat. I would say I'm hard on a boat, but I'm cautious with it. I take care of it, but I do
get everything out of it.
I push it to its limits. Yeah,
right, that's it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So yeah, all right, you got me straight on that one.
Yep.
So tonight we got a special guest and a topic that I think a lot of people probably are interested in. That's lithium batteries. We got Brett Green from Monster Marine Lithium here. So without holding on any longer, here's Brett. Brett, what's up?
What's up? How's it going?
We fumbled that intro a little bit, but
it ain't no big deal.
Got a little sideways on me. But I tell you what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to jump off the screen. I'm going to let these two kind of go at it, and towards the end, we'll try to run this thing about an hour as usual, and at the end we'll get some questions. I know everybody's got questions about lithium batteries, so I will see you guys on the other side.
What's going on, man?
Oh, same old. Running around, doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Catch up, ready to start.
Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, it's been crazy trying to get everything. Everybody's getting rigged out right now, trying to get the season started for 2023, and there's a lot of directions everybody's going. So,
yeah, it's always busy. Obviously, this is the time of the year that boats are getting rigged, and people are trying to get their ducks in a row and get ready for the first couple tournaments of the year. I'm still trying to kill a few ducks. And at the same time, I'm trying to get the boat ready. So it's extremely busy right now.
Yep. We're trying to get everybody their stuff for the 2023 season and trying to get ready for these shows. We get the East Tennessee show coming up. So, and then March is just around the corner for Red Crest and the Bassmaster Classic. And it's a crazy few months coming up. We're hammering down.
Yeah. It's a good time.
Yep.
It leads up to a busy time for this industry.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to talk a little bit about lithiums, and I guess a lot of people, if you just want to tell them kind of how you came about and got in touch with us, I think they'd like to know. And I know you've told it before in some other videos, but you can just tell them again right here. And
yeah. So basically, I started with in my past, I've ran some AGM batteries. Great success with them. They're pretty reliable, but they're also extremely heavy. I moved over to a lithium brand, and I had an issue at a tournament. Day one was great. Day two, I got there and didn't have any engine, didn't have any trolling motor, I was basically dead in the water. It was unexpected because I plugged in, everything was great. Everything looked like it charged fine. Went to the ramp the next morning, put in, and I was stuck. And that's not what you want on day two when you're trying to make a not only is it a cut, but it's a $10,000 day right there. So I was able to get in the boat with a buddy of mine, Jordan Osborne. He was kind enough to let me fish with him per the rules. We could fish together. And so I threw a couple rods in his boat. We fished all day, and, we both caught fish. We had a great time fishing, but we came up short still. Still salvaged some points, though, so that was a big deal. But leading after that, like going from that event to the next, I was done with the scenario that I had put myself in. In that particular situation, I had 12-volt batteries in there, and when one dies, you're pretty much out of luck. If you're running a 36-volt system, which, if you like the boat setup I had, so I could basically carry 4 batteries with me, 3 12 volts for my 36-volt system and a cranking battery. And if one dies and I've got a 36-volt trolling motor, I'm pretty much stuck until I get that fixed or the problem, rendered. So, moving forward, I took stuff out, went to a single cell 36-volt battery, which is basically the same size as a 31 group 12-volt battery, but it's 36 volts in one. And I ran that with a backup, and that's when I ordered them from you, from Monster Marine Lithium. Jordan talked very highly of it. I even ordered them while I was there at Lake Eufaula when I had these problems. And when I started thinking about it and started looking at options and scenarios that could play out, I've always tried to eliminate problems. I've tried to eliminate things that could possibly go wrong while you're on the water that could hinder you from making it back to a weigh-in or check-in, whatever it may be, and basically cost you from making a check. So when I was looking at options, it was pretty simple. I replaced my cranking batteries with the Beast at the time. That was a great battery. It worked very well for me. And the 36-volt battery, that was, I believe, a 40 amp hour at the time. And it worked flawlessly. I could put one of those in there that replaced one of my AGMs, and I could put a backup right next to it. And if I had a problem, which I never did, I could always just take, 2 minutes of my day, pull those terminals off, move it to the next battery, and I was ready to go again. So it's not where, if you've got 3 12 volts in there and you have one go down, you don't have room for a backup. I eliminated that problem by having 2 36 volts side by side. So if I had a problem, potentially I could just jump over to the other battery and I was good to go. And a lot of people have different preferences on how they wire them together and do this and that, switches and things like that. I really like it to just be, I'm directly on one battery. If I have a problem, I can always pull the terminals, move it to the next, and I'm good. I'd rather sacrifice 2 minutes of my day and keep them separate and isolated than together, just for simple purposes and personal preferences.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways you can do it, and those batteries, if you charge them up, that battery can sit there all season. That spare battery you have there, and it's not going to lose its charge. You're talking maybe around 3% in a month. So if it's set there 6 months, you're talking you still have 80% on that battery. And speaking of that 40 amp hour, you ran all season on a single 40 amp hour. A lot of people have a misconception of, you need about the same amount of amp hours as you have on your lead batteries. And, we tell them all the time when they call us, what kind of fishing are you doing? And it's not just because, we're just kind of BSing there. We're wanting to know what's your style of fishing, how hard you're running. You fishing current, you just fishing lakes. Then we can kind of get them set up with the appropriate setup. And a lot of people that we talk to are like, I don't think a 40 amp hour is going to be good enough. And I'm like, I fished a whole year's worth of tournaments on a 40 amp hour, kind of like you done. When we first started this, we were wanting to push it to the limit and see what we could do with it. And never had an issue, never had to switch it. And I tell people, I said, Zack to this day is still only running one battery at a time if he needs to, and he has a second one there. But they're a little leery on just 40 amp hours. Now I'm not saying you can't run it down in a tournament. I mean, but it's extremely hard. You have to be really getting at it, burning the banks with it, to do so.
Yeah. And to that point, I usually in the past couple of years, I've ran 216 Lowrance Lives, and this goes back to the cranking battery, but never had a problem with it. I've run my trolling motor on, St. Lawrence River, places where there's a lot of current, Mississippi River, where I'm on it in vegetation, Florida, the same type of scenario. I've run it hard all day, and I've had really good success with it without draining it. And I've had, potential customers that have reached out to me, and we've talked about it, and they are a little bit skeptical on that 40 amp hour battery, but I find it really hard to think that someone could run one harder than I have in a tournament day and not kill it. Whereas, I've had good success with it. So I feel like if I can put it through that torture test in a legit day of tournament fishing where I'm hard on them, I find it really hard to think someone could kill one, fishing around or whatnot, fun fishing. I really feel like that's about 2.5 days, personally.
Yep. And that's what we was talking about at the beginning, with you having them shipped down there to Florida, is we didn't, the guys, when the order come through, the guys packed it and they ship them out like normal. We do a lot of the same day shipping, if ordered early enough, and try to get your stuff out as quick as possible. Well, when we was reviewing through, that day, going through some orders and stuff, we seen the name and I was like, Zack. I was like, nah, that's going down to Florida. That's got to be a different one. But I've never heard of two Zack Birges, but it just didn't cross my mind. We were just busy. And then we ended up later on connecting the dots and kind of talking. I was like, okay, so a lot of people think that we just kind of connected and you just, you're just running them, but you actually bought the batteries just out of randomness and was running them that whole first year. And then we just kind of came into a partnership after that. And it's just kind of going from there.
Yeah, it's worked out really good. It's anytime I start something like that, I really want to know more about the product, or at least be comfortable with it and believe in the product before I, push it, obviously. And this was kind of a perfect scenario. I went off of what a friend of mine that I trust told me, and he really believed in them. So I did the same thing, bought them off the website. And had great success with them, and one thing led to another, and here we are today. It's truly a product that I trust, and I rely. This is my career, so going out on the water and relying on my batteries to pull me around, start my engine, run my electronics, and all of that is that's a big part of what we do as professional bass fishermen, and that says a lot in itself.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, this is not just a normal everyday anglers. I mean, these are your careers that's on the line here, and y'all are fishing for big chunks of money, and you really can't afford a breakdown or anything like that. So we try to always outfit you with a setup that's almost bulletproof, that no matter what situation you occur or come into, that you'll be set up for it no matter what.
Yeah, and that's reliability is the biggest key. From running everything all day long, starting your engine after sitting there for 2 hours fishing a place. Florida's kind of notorious for it. We get in a place, we get in a bay, and we may spend 2-3 hours there fishing without cranking an engine. We may be running, aerators and recirc pumps, stuff like that, may hit a bilge. I personally have 216s that I run plus active target. I've got Sirius radio that I'm running too. It all is a draw, but when it comes down to it and I need to run back or I need to get back to my truck, I know my battery is going to start my engine and I'm going to be able to make it back on time, or to get my fish weight in, or just to get me back to the trailer.
Yeah. So this year you've got our new Beast 2.0 that you're going to be running, which is 170 amp hours. It's an insane amount of juice that you can run 5-6 graphs. 360 live scope. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you can fit on that boat, it'll run it and handle it. And so I think you'll be pretty happy with what setup you have this year going into this 2023 season.
Yeah, and we went to the 2.0, the Beast 2.0, and we went from the 40 amp hour deep cycles to the 65 amp hours.
Yep.
Which is a little bit different than what I've ran in the past, but definitely an upgrade. Even though I haven't had any problems, it's just a little extra security.
Yep. And then we wanted to make sure everyone has enough juice for those long practice days, especially on the St. Lawrence River or wherever y'all may be going, that you have plenty, and they're Bluetooth compatible, so you can check it right there, right off your phone. Make sure everything is charged and ready to go. And then also a new item that we kind of showed a little bit of a hint yesterday on our Facebook page. Have you received it yet?
I got it today.
You got it today. Okay. So it's our new dynamic charge system. I think you're going to be pretty thrilled with that system. It's kind of similar to what you ran in the past with the on the run charging that you had. But it's an all-in-one unit that's we've been working on for 2 years. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about it and move toward it.
Yeah, that's going to be nice. We've had, so what I've normally done in the past with having the setup that I normally use, and I've said I keep one cranking battery hooked up, I keep one trolling motor battery hooked up, and I've basically got 2 spares. So what I've done in the past is used the portable chargers to keep them topped off, and I normally just check them. I'll hook them up, check them every 2 or 3 tournaments, just as a security, know everything is good in the background. And fortunately I haven't had to use that, which has been great. That tells me everything is working the way it should be. So it's going to be cool. I don't know a whole lot about the new charger, but I'm extremely interested in it, and I'm excited to get it in the boat and put it to work.
Yeah. It's I don't know if you've even seen it yet today, but you and a few others have got it so far. We're trying to get all of the rest of the pros that will be running it this season shipped out, and then hopefully we'll be able to release it to everyone else as well. But it's something we're excited about. We've been working on for a couple of years and just trying to dial in everything and get it all right. Where, we've personally been running it for the last year in ourselves in our own boats across. We fish in probably 5 different states. We fish a lot of big bass tournament trails here locally. And, by doing that, it helps us test it test every little in and out of it before we start actually letting other people test it. And that's how it kind of all started with this whole company, is us testing stuff ourselves, building a battery for ourselves, and then kind of reaching out, building it for our family members. And it just kind of kept going up from there. And being the anglers that we are, building a battery from the start, inside of it to the outside, to handle all those conditions is where we kind of wanted to go, and it's kind of been working very well for us. And we can also steer people in the right direction. So when they call, like I said before, we're getting, walleye fishing, catfishing, bass fishing, whatever they may be doing. We know kind of approximately the amp hour rating that you're going to be needing for your situation. And same with you guys on the tour. We set you up. We let y'all pick, what setups you kind of want to go with, but we also make sure that it's going to be adequate no matter what situation you run into. But we're excited about it, and we'll be releasing it very soon, hopefully within the next week or 2. People will start getting some look into it, and we're kind of excited about that. But you got any questions or anything for me right now?
No, another point that we can kind of talk about is the difference between, obviously AGM battery, lead acid is heavy. We shed so much weight out of there transitioning to a lithium battery. If you're a shallow water guy like me, we go from, drafting, say 12, 14 inches of water to drafting, 6 or 8 inches of water.
Yeah.
Getting back in places, getting back in flats. Like in Florida, at Okeechobee, Toho, Kissimmee, places like that, there's times where that makes a difference.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just talking to Chris from Blazer the other day, and we were having a conversation. And one of the first times we ran into each other was at Okeechobee, and I was in this place that I almost would bet everything I have nobody had been in there before. And there was one boat that showed up, and he was in there. And there's a difference between getting into somewhere like that and not being able to get in there in a place like that, and catching those fish that might be in there, not catching them, cashing a check, making, advancing to the next round, advancing to your next day, qualifiers or whatever it may be. Shedding that weight in the back not only has better hole shot, you draft a lot shallower. Top end depends on kind of what hole you run, but for me, it's been all around improvement because I really like to fish shallow. I really like to get back in those places that a lot of people can't get to or won't try to get to.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting back out of there is another problem. You may get in there, but back out's, just a challenge of its own. So, being able to shed some weight, getting up shallow water.
That's one of the biggest differences people recognize right off the bat is the weight difference. I mean, on average, people are going to be shedding about 200 pounds off the back of their boat, especially if they're running a 36-volt system. So they're going from 4 batteries down to 2 a lot of times, or if they want, dual 36-volt systems, they're going to 3. But even if they're running that, you're still talking, you're at 100 pounds maybe altogether, if just shy of that, versus 300-400 pounds if you're running 4 and 5 battery systems. Right. And then a lot of difference between lead batteries and lithiums that people don't really know of too much is you only get to use about 50% of a lead battery rating. So if they're 100 amp hour rating batteries on your lead side, you're only getting about 50% of that. And along with that 50%, you have your voltage drop that's steady. It starts up here and it steady drops throughout the day, all day long. When that voltage is dropping, your amps that you're consuming is going up, which starts killing the battery faster and faster. You losing power. And anybody knows that you're running lead batteries after a hard day of fishing, you keep cranking that dial up more and more and more, trying to get that trolling motor to keep running at that same speed you started at. Right. So the voltage curve of the lithium is very flat. It doesn't hardly lose, hardly any voltage, maybe 1 to 2 volts over the whole day. So that's a big difference there as far as when we say you have more power. That's the more power that we're talking about is you have that maintained higher voltage, which allows your electronics, if you're running, 13 volts or your trolling motor, to have more power throughout the day. And then your charge cycles, you're talking 10 times the charge cycles versus your lead batteries, which when we were running lead batteries, we only got about 12 months out of them before we had to switch them because they just wouldn't hold a charge. Couldn't even get through a full day of fishing. So that's a big difference there as well. But another difference as far as what our batteries are made for is it's in our name, the marine side. So we do specialize in the marine industry. People use our batteries for all kinds of stuff. You, for one, you powering all kinds of stuff over there at your house and out in the fields and stuff. But we do specialize in the marine industry. So all of our batteries, the internal structure that you can't see, is built for the marine environment. Going to be wet. It's going to be in harsh conditions. There's vibration foam around all the cells. They can't shift. You can, if anybody's got one of our batteries, you can pick it up and shake it. Nothing's going to move inside of it. It's stainless steel casings or aluminum housing casings, along with, your copper and stainless steel bolts in it. All the connections inside are glued so that they can't vibrate and pop loose. But that's what, that's a lot of things that make us a little bit different that a lot of people can't see. A lot of them just see a name. Of course, our innovations, as you know, we've got a 73 amp hour 36 volt. That's the largest single 36 volt battery on the market with a Group 31 footprint. So the only difference is it's a little bit higher in height, about 1 inch higher. And one thing we haven't released yet, if anybody's watching, they'll know now is we're going to be introducing a 24 volt 100 amp hour that's going to be in that same case as our Titan 36 volt battery, and that will be the largest single 24 volt battery on the market with a Group 31 footprint. So we're always trying to innovate and just make it to where everybody in whoever's out there has a solution for their boat, whatever they want, whatever their needs are, their particular way they want to set it up. We're there to try to have those options available for them, and they can go whichever direction. And right now we've got so many different options now. I don't even know how many you could make out of the options we have, but they're there for those that want to make their own kind of unique setup.
Yeah, that's good. Options are good because everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's setup's a little bit different. You may have in your mind what is perfect for the majority, but there's always going to be that group that's a little bit different. They prefer a different setup, and having that wide variety is good.
Yep. And we're specialized in the marine, so we are a true marine grade lithium battery that we stress a lot on the waterproofness of the battery, and like I said, trying to handle that vibration. And I've watched some of your videos. You run your boat pretty good against some waves and stuff, so it's got to be able to withstand a beating. Myself, we've crashed across some big waves, especially at Lake of the Ozarks. One, you'll be driving down the lake, and all of a sudden you're looking at the sky from hitting a wave from one of them yachts. But it can handle all of that, and a lot of people stop by the booth, and I kick the batteries around, and tell them to shake it and stuff, and show them that. And that's a lot of things we stress as far as having a dependable battery that's a marine grade that's going in your boat. There's a lot of batteries on the market, especially we see them on Amazon and stuff. A lot of people that are always commenting, even on the page and everything, why don't we just get this? I mean, you absolutely can, and it might work for a little bit, but they're not going to be marine. They may not be waterproof. They may not have the foam in there. Cells may come loose and break loose inside. There's a lot of things that's hidden that you can't see that we do on the inside and behind the scenes there.
Right. And that correlates to good performance on the water, reliability, and making it back to weigh-ins, cashing checks, customers, and everything like that.
Yep. We do keep on top of our customer service as best we can, and try to make sure everybody's taken care of at the end of the day. Ricky's coming back on.
His mic's off.
Yeah, your mic's off.
Thank you.
There we go.
We got quite a few questions, but one thing I hear a lot from a lot of guys is, "Oh, those lithiums are so expensive." But there's a reason they're expensive, and talk a little bit about the cost of the initial cost versus the lifespan of a lithium, compared to a conventional lead battery.
Yeah, so we go back to what I was talking about as far as your charge cycles, 10 times the charge cycles. Your traditional lead batteries are rated for, on average, around your 400 charge cycle, and that typically, if you're draining them down all the way down to zero, it'll shorten it. Your lithium is rated for around 4,000. A lot of people are going to be 3,000 to 5,000 cycle mark, so the average in between them about 4,000 charge cycles. Now, the misconception people get with a charge cycle is they go out and fish and say they use it 25% of that battery for that day. They charge it back up. They think that's a cycle that they've used, but that's not. That's only 1/4 of a cycle. So it would take them 4 trips at 25% each day to use 100% of the battery and equal 1 charge cycle. That's why some people can fish, and 3 months later they'll look in their Bluetooth app and the charge cycles they're at 3. So there's a difference there in the charge cycles. Now your upfront cost is higher, but now with the options, we try to make it a little, as best priced as best as we can for the consumer. You're talking heavy 85, 90 pound AGM nowadays is $550. I talked to a dealer today. He said they've went up again on price. So, they're around $550 for big high quality one. Your average ones may be $250 for an AGM. We have our 12 volt 60 amp hour. That's $399 starting out. That's not a Bluetooth model though, but that is just your 12 volt 60 amp hour battery. That battery will provide more runtime and more power than a 100 amp hour Group 31 lead battery. So you're only a couple $100 more if you're buying a $200 one, but twice the price, but 10 times the charge cycles. So, I mean, if you do the math, the charge cycles is exponentially cost per charge cycle is exponentially lower than that of lead batteries. That's just the upfront cost you have to endure a little bit. Now, we do offer a firm on our website for people, that want to not have to pay it all up front. A firm you can go through there, check out, and they'll qualify you and give you your payment options. You can select which one fits you best, and you can pay it out. It's not like you have to always upfront everything at the beginning.
That's a very good option.
Always, in our conversations, we've talked about that it's the longevity of the batteries, and people. I guess it's our job to educate them that it's a little bit more upfront, but down the road, you're not going to be replacing batteries every year. I saw a comment up here just a minute ago. Let me pop it up there. Wait a minute, where is it at now? All right, talking about lead batteries. So good lead batteries times 4.
$200. $200 piece times 4 of them is $800. Lasts about a year if you fish hard. Yeah.
Right. And we were down at the dealership today talking about the lithiums versus AGMs, and the service manager, they were saying, well, 4 AGMs will cost you $1,000, if not more.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the weight thing too, Zach, I mean.
Well, that's what I was about to say. So you look at the price difference on them. Yeah, there's an increase in price going to a lithium. It may cost you some more money, but for me, for instance, like if I'm fishing a tournament, the minimum check, just say, is $10,000. That's the cut. That's where you're going to either advance or not. If I'm trying to get in a place and I've got, say 200 extra pounds in the back of my boat, I can't get in there with my trolling motor because, remember, in rules, you can't push in, but you can push out or whatnot, whatever it may be. If I can't get myself in there because I'm too heavy, right, with AGMs or whatnot, if I turn around, if I pay a little bit more for the lithiums, then I can just glide right in there or slide over a bar, slide over a sandbar or gravel pit or whatever it may be to get in this hole, and I catch, heaviest bag of the day or enough to advance me, and I cash a $10,000 check. Well, it's just paid for itself and then some. Not only then, but now we're moving forward. So now we're profitable going into the next event and the next one and the next one. So we're just making money on top of money now on times where, if you're that type of fisherman, you may not be able to get into that hole. You may not be able to slide over that gravel bar. And I find myself in that position all the time. I'm not going to lie. I'm terrible at getting myself in positions where I get hung up on the bottom. I can't get hung up on a mud bar or something. I've been stuck a few times, but it's also cashed me a lot of checks that I wouldn't have cashed if I didn't have them.
And that brings me to the next one that just popped up here. And we've got quite questions, but whenever y'all are ready to start answering them, we can. But this one's one you don't hear much about at all. I'm gonna put it up on the screen, but I'm gonna paraphrase it a little bit. Talk about the clean power with AGMs. Nobody told me when I put AGMs in my boat that my graphs were going to be clear, but they are. I've heard it from more than one person. They've done everything. The graphs aren't real clear. They put lithiums in, and the screens become clear. Is there any truth to that? I guess.
This is a subject that a lot of people have a misconception on. As far as increasing your voltage, you get better picture quality. We have one of our other pros that has been in contact and has talked directly for one of the major graph manufacturers out there and forward-facing sonars. They have tested every graph they have at the maximum voltage level, and it hasn't increased the quality of the picture. Now, what it does with a cleaner power is you do not have the voltage drop throughout the day. So you have a steady, clean power that's happening. Now, when you have a lead battery, that voltage drop is going down like this throughout the day, and your amps are starting to go up. So your units are starting to run a little hotter. And if you ever drop below that 11 volt mark, then you're getting right on the edge of what those graphs can operate on as far as their voltages, and they're just right there at the edge of wanting to shut off and wanting to stay on, and that's not what you want. Now, when you have that clean power that's a steady voltage, so we run in 13.5 volts to your units and all your live scope and 360, whatever you're running, what you have, you don't have that voltage drop. So you have that steady voltage and all your units are running flawlessly and everything's just in sync. That's what it is. Now, if you have a higher voltage, what it does is lowers your amps that you're using. So I seen a comment earlier about the Bandit that we come out with. The Bandit is a converter. Now, what we've worked on that for about a year, and it does not have it does not let interference come in between it. Now, what it does is it hooks up to your 36-volt trolling motor battery wire. So at the front of your boat, with your trolling motor hooks up, goes underneath the bow to your trolling motor wires. It hooks right there. What that does is provide a 24-volt leg and a 13-volt leg. So it's actually 26 volts and 13 volts. The 26-volt leg is for your active target or your live scope black box. It can handle 30 volts. And the 13-volt leg is for your graphs. It can handle 1 or 2 or 3 graphs up there if you want to. That will provide a good, clean, steady power source up there. And with the higher voltages, you're using less amps. So take, for instance, if you're using a 12-inch graph, live scope, you're using a 12-inch Garmin graph, and your live scope black box and your transducer, you're pulling off of your 36-volt system and converting it all down and running this off of your 36-volt system. You're only using a little over 1 amp per hour to run that system, versus if you're running on a 13-volt system with that same setup, everything's running on 13 volts, you may be using 2.5 to 3 amps an hour. So it allows you to run longer on a little bit more, on less amount of juice, because you're pulling off that 36-volt system. So the higher the amps, or the higher the voltage you have, the lower the amps that you're using, and the longer runtime you can do without affecting too much of your trolling motor batteries. You don't have to run all the wires up to the front of the boat.
You got all that, Zach?
I got it. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Can you just touch a little bit on price point? It's kind of like y'all have a battery for everybody.
Yeah. A price point on the lithium battery. So we try to have a battery for everybody. So price points, they vary depending on what you're wanting. Now for trolling motor batteries, our smallest one we have for that is our 12-volt 60 amp hour batteries. They start at $399, which isn't that's less than a high quality AGM, so it's not that bad of a price point. You can get the Bluetooth model; they're $450. Now you step on up if you want the 12-volt 100s or the 120s, whatever your setup may want. It starts going up from there. Our 12-volt 100s are $699. The Bluetooth model is a $730, I believe. And then the single 36s, they start at $850 and go all the way up to $1,600, depending on which one you want. Kind of the same with the 24 volts. They're kind of around the same price point. But that's the price points on all of them. And if anybody wants to see all the different price points, they can visit our website at monstermarinelithium.com. They can look at all the different battery options we have. We do have smaller 12-volt 18 amp hour and, our common 30 amp hour for just the live scope only. A lot of people want a little dedicated battery for just live scope. Our 30 amp hour, we ship those out every day. People are getting those for just single live scope batteries, to isolate everything and not have that pulling down on the cranking battery if they're running a lead battery right now.
All right. You still there, Brett?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, kind of out there at the end. Yeah, you wouldn't believe how many comments someone here are about the service after the sale, and that that's a big deal, man. It really is a big deal. It seems to me nowadays that's missing from a lot of businesses. I can't say enough about how. And Zach, you can kind of chime in on this. It's a very family atmosphere with you guys. I mean, it's not like it's not a lot of corporate stuff.
No, we're big, family owned and operated a lot of times, for the most part. as far as how we started and got into this. And we do stay, we have people that are always answering emails. Somebody, whether it's myself or one of the guys at the shop, somebody's going to give you a call back at the end of the day. If you called us, if we missed it, we're trying to get through everybody, all the calls throughout the end of the day that are coming in and trying to reach back to everyone. And we usually will get through all the calls back. If we don't, you'll get a call the next morning. The emails, same way. We'll answer emails even on the weekend. Somebody is checking emails over the weekends. If anybody has any issues during a tournament or anything like that, or a question, can they do this? Can they do that? We're there to try to answer it as fast and as quick as possible to help everyone. You don't lose the customer service after the sale. We're there before and after and during, whatever you need.
Right. Yeah. I've had several people reach out to me too, with just general questions, and that's, I'm here for that too. So if anybody's got, questions on the batteries or technical questions, I will do my best to help with what I'm knowledgeable on. Obviously, if I don't know, I will send you to these guys directly to answer those questions. But for the majority of things I can help with. So I saw a comment pop up from Mark, and he bought my last year's boat, and he was asking how the Bluetooth. Let me see if I can find it again right here. I just saw it pop up.
Is it the bottom?
Yeah. So how does the Bluetooth app provide an advantage for monitoring batteries? Well, that question kind of stuck with me because he has the Bluetooth batteries in there in his boat, and he's got the app too. So, you, no matter where, if you're within range of it, you can pull up the app. So like my shop is right behind my house. So when I'm sitting here like tonight, I can pull up my app and I can see my batteries. I can see what state they're in, whether they're 97% charged, 100% charged, whatever they may be. I can see that from sitting in here, at my, bar in the house, and I'll know what state my battery's in. I know which one I've got charged in. I can see the next one, beside it, and what percentage life it has. So it's good to know, to be able to look at that battery and know what that state of battery, what it is, whether it's drained or fully charged or whatnot.
Yeah, and you have to use that Bluetooth if you're wanting to know, because like I said, with lithium starting at a full voltage, a full charge or voltage, we're going to say some easy numbers like 40 volts on that 36-volt battery. Well, if you drain it down 90%, you're still at 38 volts. You cannot recognize or feel that on your trolling motor, that 2 volts. So the only way you kind of know where your battery's state of charge is through that Bluetooth app. You can look on it, see, okay, I've only used 45% of my battery today, where your traditional batteries, you can tell that you've put a draining on them and you need to charge them. And I seen a comment up here. I just seen a comment. Oh yeah. From T-Roy over there. He's talking about how much faster they charge. You don't get to feel the voltage, the weakness of the batteries because the voltage is so high. So that advantage of having the Bluetooth, where you stand, even on the water. If you're fishing hard on a single battery, and you look down and you've already burned through 50% of your battery and it's only been a few hours, you can say, okay, I'm going to start lightening my speed a little bit down and conserve energy if you wanted to. And the charge rate of the batteries. So you can charge these batteries up, 5 times faster, 6 times faster than your traditional batteries. I mean, if I want to, with a 100 amp hour battery, I could put 100 amps in it from 0% and bring it up to 100% in 1 hour. Have that battery fully charged if I want to. And it's kind of a standard for most of our batteries. If you see the amp hour rating, if it's 120, it can handle up to 120 amps going into it. But that's a very fast charge rate, and they don't create resistance. So your lead batteries, when you're charging them, you get done fishing a tournament, you plug them on the charger, they'll charge up a lot, to 80% or so pretty quick. And then that last 20% of your lead batteries, the lead batteries create so much resistance, it takes hours and hours for it to finally get topped off to a full charge. Lithium doesn't have that. So when you put 10 amps into a battery, you're just going to take that 10 amps all the way up until it hits 100%, and then it's going to kick off and it's done. It doesn't have that resistance. It's not to keep trying to prolong it and take a long time to charge. It just charges up and just kicks off.
Which I did see a question about that. Like, after your battery's charged, should you unplug the charger or leave the charger plugged in?
You can leave the charger plugged in. A lot of people have that question. You need to run the battery down to a certain point before you charge it back up. We tell people just charge it up after every use. You can leave the batteries plugged in. All these chargers nowadays, especially if you're not using our charger, using the Power Pole charge or even the Minn Kota charger, or something like, an AGM charger, which touch base on that is any AGM charger usually will work with our 12-volt lithiums. And if you leave them plugged in, they will go into a maintain mode and they'll keep your batteries at 100% and ready to rock and roll, the next day. What you don't want to do is unplug them and then you accidentally left something on that you didn't see and it sat there and drain your batteries down to zero. And then you go fishing and they're not ready to go. Right. So you can leave them plugged in. If you got them on a breaker switch, you can charge them up 100% as long as everything's disconnected with the breakers and stuff. Unplug it. The batteries will sit there and hold a charge. They don't just go bad by just sitting there. So if you want to unplug it, that's fine. But if you want to just leave it plugged up like you normally do, back it in the shop, plug it up, walk away, that's fine too. You can just leave it alone like that.
All right. How about the one that's up there now?
What battery would I need for 2 Garmin graphs and a live scope? That depends on what size graphs. Now, if you're running 2 12s or 10 and a 9 or whatever it may be, you'll probably want at least our 60 amp hour battery to run both graphs and the live scope. Our 30 amp hour is very good on one graph and the live scope, whether it's an 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 inch graph and the live scope itself for a day of fishing. But if you start putting maybe 2 graphs in the live scope, you may start taking that down to a 6 or 8 hour day with that 30 amp hour battery. So to be able to get a full day, you'd probably want at least our 60 amp hour battery to last both graphs and the live scope all day.
I saw one here that kind of intrigued by after all the issues Tesla had a couple weeks ago. What about charging them when it's freezing?
It's true. We can charge Monster lithiums below freezing temperatures. You can. Now, I'm going to try to debunk this below freezing charge situations here. Now, the whole talk about charging lithium batteries below freezing, you're going to hurt them. A lot of this came about in the solar system games. So everybody that's big in solar, they have usually big battery banks, consisting of 4 to 10, 12 batteries. They're charging at a very high amp rating. And a lot of times it could be up north. It could be negative 15 degrees and stuff. You really don't want to charge them if they're that cold. Now, with our batteries, you can actually charge below freezing, because most of our chargers are going to be 10 amps or less. So what we tell people and explain to people is you're not charging them at a fast amp rating. So when you get home, if you've been using them all day, even if it's 15 degrees outside, you can plug them up and charge them. Those batteries are going to be warm. The cells are going to be warm. They have a low temp cutoff sensor in them, but the cells themselves are going to be warm from using them all day. And if you plug it up when you get home, they're going to start charging. Some of our batteries do not have low temp cutoff. So none of our cranking batteries do. For the reason is you don't ever want that battery not to charge on when you're running down the lake or have any kind of problems there. You're rarely going to have a battery that's going to be below freezing the cells themselves on a cranking battery, because from the moment you launch that boat, there is juice being pulled out or put back in. So the battery stays warm all day long. You're not going to hurt the battery. And we have a 5-year warranty. So even if you did and it wouldn't take a charge, we're going to replace it because, the warranty is a full free replacement. No gimmicks, nothing there. But we're confident that you're not going to hurt it. With the deep cycles, same with the deep cycles. So if you use them, plug them up. Now, if you're up north somewhere and it's negative 10 degrees and your batteries are 40% charged and you ain't used them in a week and they're sitting there and you plug them up, no, they're not going to charge probably. They're going to block the charge from coming in. Even on the ones that don't have the low temp cutoff, the amperage is so low that after a few minutes, those cells are going to be starting to warm up faster and faster the longer the charge is on there. the cells are going to be warmed up before they can do any damage really to the battery, and it's going to take off and start charging anyways. So now if you take a battery that's sitting at -10 and you got to put 50 amps into it, yeah, you can damage it and shorten its life cycle. The battery itself may not be harmed, it will still work, but you may just shorten the cycles of it. So instead of getting 4,000 cycles, you may cut it down to 2,000 cycles or 1,000 cycles out of it, which is still a lot. But we just encourage people, as soon as they are done fishing, plug it up and it'll charge up. You're not going to hurt the batteries. The batteries are going to be warm because there's a big difference between your air temp and the temp of the battery. If it's 20 degrees outside, that's fine. After you use them, the battery's going to be warm back there in the battery compartment. The battery's back there inside the battery case itself, and the cells are going to be above freezing temps anyways. Are the warranties transferable? They're not, per the website, they are not transferable, but we do transfer warranties. Yes. If you sell a boat with the batteries in them and you're getting a new boat and wanting to put new batteries in there, have the person you sold it to give us a call. We will work with them. We have a transfer fee that we will charge them, and we will transfer the warranty to them if they want.
Let me see. I saw another one here that was.
So I saw a pretty good question, because this relates kind of back to me. Dennis Williams, he asked, I'm pushing towards replacing 3 12 volts to 1 36 volt. What about emergency start? Will you be able to jump start off a 36 volt? My personal scenario is I use the jump box to jump my batteries if I have a problem. He may like some different insight on that if he does not have that box or a jump box in general.
Yeah, you cannot jump straight off of the 36 volt batteries. If you do so, you will probably ruin everything in the boat, including things on your motor that you don't want to ruin. We have had people that some of our dealers have called and was ordering some new batteries and stuff, because people have done that. Some of our local dealers, believe it or not, they've hooked jumper cable straight to the 36 volt and tried to jump over to the 12 to start their boat, and they fried everything in their whole boat. So no, you cannot do that. But we do have a solution to that with the new dynamic charge system. If you ever start running that with a single 36 volt batteries, it does have a button on the charger that you can hold down for just a couple of seconds. It will pull juice from your 36 volt system and push it to your 12 volt to jumpstart your boat if you needed to. You can also leave it after you jumpstart your boat. You can also leave it, the button pushed down. It has a red light. It will show you, and it will put a 30 amp charge rate into your cranking battery to bring it back up some charge if you want pulling from your 36 volt system. So that's a feature that's in our new charger there as well. And then you can just go back there when you after 30 minutes of charging, if you want to, and turn that button off, and your battery will have juice. It does not have to recognize a battery there. If you run it all the way down to 0, it will automatically start. It'll wake up that battery if you ever run it dead and start charging it. It's just a matter of seconds, and you can jump your motor back off, your boat motor back off, and take off down the lake if you want to.
So Zach, I see a video coming on that very soon, like in a couple weeks, the next time we're together. So you need to learn that thing inside and out.
I promise you, when I see you the next time, I'll know that thing inside and out. I guarantee it.
I know you. How about this one right here? This is, you don't hear that much about it anymore, but back in the infancy of lithiums, people were all the time talking about waking the batteries up if they went totally dead or dead enough where they couldn't see the charger.
Yeah, so waking the batteries up. Our batteries don't just go to sleep if they're just sitting there. I know some people has had experiences with batteries they just shut off and go to sleep. Ours do not. Now, if you run it all the way down, if you run the battery all the way down to 0 and it hits a safety measure, what's called low voltage cutoff. So when you run it all the way down to 0, the computer board in the battery will cut the battery off. You'll literally have no volts at the terminals of the battery, and that's just protecting your battery. A lot of chargers on the market, if they don't see voltage there, they will not start charging at all. Our chargers will wake them up. So if you have one of our chargers, all you really have to do is just plug it in. It'll wake it up and start charging it. Same with our new dynamic charge system. It does not have to recognize if battery's there. If you run them all the way down, if you run every battery in your whole boat down to 0, nothing, You plug it up, it'll wake them up and start charging them. We offer, for those that want, we do offer some non-waterproof, like 5-amp chargers on our website, whether it be a 36 volt, 24 volt, whatever it may be, that you can keep as a backup charger. A lot of people buy them just to keep in the truck. If you ever run your battery down to 0, you can throw it on there and it'll wake it back up if you don't have our charger.
Gotcha. Look, there was a follow-up from that Dennis Williams. Wanted to know about switching those batteries. Is it possible to put a switch in there?
What was the?
He was talking about the going from 12 volt, 3 12 volt batteries to 1 36 volt, and having like I believe it's referring to like Rangers with having a Perco switch in the back that goes from your main batteries to a jump start setting.
Yeah, so you'll just that switch will be gone. That switch cannot be used anymore if you do the 36 volt system. Just you can't put 36 volts toward anything 12 volt. Now, if you were running 312s, you could still 312 volt 100s lithiums in there, and you put them in there. Then yeah, you could hook everything up kind of like you have it. That it comes with that jump switch and everything will stay in place. But yeah, you can't.
Oh, you got problems if you try to do that.
Yeah, 36 volt single batteries. You do not. Yeah, you don't want to put them on any kind of Perco switch to your 12 volt stuff.
It'd be a little hot.
Yeah, your grass and stuff will see some voltage like they ain't never seen.
From old car guy, we used to refer to it as smoke out, and you play hell getting that smoke back in there once you let it out. I promise.
Yeah, it's never a good thing if you ever did that.
All right. Well, how about the dynamic charger? Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, the dynamic charge system, the dynamic charge while running down the lake. It does have the on-the-run charging feature. So the dynamic charge system is going to be a 24 volt and a 36 volt models. There's going to be 2 different models. It will have your at-home charging. So when you plug it up at home, it has your dual charging to both your 12 volt and your 36 volt at the same time, 10 amps to each bank. Now, if you're running 2 36s in parallel, hook the 36 volt lead to one battery, it will charge both of them up. It just acts as one big battery. So it has that. When you unplug it and you launch your boat and you're going down the lake, that charger will monitor the 12 volt battery. So when the 12 volt battery has the appropriate voltage in it, it will then activate and start putting charge over to your 36 volt. So you'll initially be charging both your 12 volt and your 36 volt from your motor while you're running down the lake. When you turn your motor off, the charge will recognize that, and the dynamic charge will shut off the on-the-run charging. So, and it will not matter if you're running an AGM or a lithium cranking battery. It will work with both AGM and cranking battery on the 12 volt side, and then single 36s or single 24s on the trolling motor side.
Gotcha. Hey, Zach, I think this might be a personal question, but I know there's a story behind it, so I got to ask you. Les is a friend of yours, right?
I know.
Or somebody. Is there something to the sandbar thing or what?
Had to bring up the sandbars. Yeah, I've been known to get stuck on a few of them. But hey, sometimes you got to send it to get in there and get a check. And sometimes you just take a wrong turn. I've been known to do both.
Is there a worst time you've ever gotten stuck that you can think of? I mean, is there one time that just always sticks out like, God, I shouldn't have done that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was kind of it was on the fly moment. So, yeah, it's the first Red Crest. We were at La Crosse, was leading or right there. I think it was the day Hackney and I were like, competing for whoever was leading that day. We had more than enough cushion to make it to the championship day. And no, this was day 2. So I was trying to get the knockout round. I was leading that day. I had a cushion. I was just goofing around, running around. And I was trying to get back to where I'd been catching some fish and try to expand on that little area some. And I was coming up a back cut. And I literally zigged when I should have zagged. I came around a bend and I was running about 60, which is just cruising. And I looked up and I saw a sandbar and I was like, oh no, this isn't good. If I had thought immediately to like cut the wheel and just bite, I would have been able to stop. But I hit the jack plate and hit the trim at the same time and just put my floor to it. And I gave that thing all it had to get through there, and we sat up high and dry, right on the sandbar. I was about 50 yards shy of making it across. The boat set up just perfect, and it went, and that's not a good sign. But luckily we were in a position where I was leading. It wasn't a big deal. I thought it was just, you can't get mad about that. It is what it is. Sometimes we do things like that by accident. If I'd have been on the cut line, I probably would have been upset about it, but I was leading. It was not a big deal. I didn't think much of it. Tom Mansour came down with his airboat, pulled us off, and cranked her up. We ran all the way back to the ramp, so all was good.
All right. I tell you what, guys, let's get this one last question about the dynamic charger, and then I'm gonna let y'all go enjoy some family time tonight. Can you read that?
Yeah. What does it voltage? So the dynamic charger will monitor your 12-volt voltage on it. It activates at a couple of different voltages depending on what battery is hooked to it. But once your alternator is engaged and charging it, it will convert over. It's going to be about the 14-volt mark on that. So, and your alternator starts charging. When you start your boat motor, your alternator is charging it at 14.5 volts, a regulated voltage charge. So it's well below your alternator charge. But it is a charger we're excited about. And I've seen another question there. When's the live sonar converter be out for the 24 volt? 24 volt model Bandits will be out. We're trying to get them out within a couple of weeks, if at all possible. Maybe it's going to be 10 to 20 days. We'll have some available for people. Those things are a big hit. It saves you running wires all up to the front of your boat. But yeah, the 24 volt model, hopefully within 2 to 3 weeks, we should have that available for those that are waiting.
Gotcha. Well, guys, I appreciate it. Zach, anybody that wants to keep an eye on you, where would they go look?
Facebook, I'm all over that. Zack Birge Fishing, Instagram, all over it all the time. I've got my phone with me pretty much 24/7. You guys can reach out. It's me messaging you back, answering questions. I do my best to get back to you on a timely manner. If I don't, it's not that I haven't seen it. It's that I'm extremely busy, and I will get back to you at some point. I promise I'll answer any questions you got. Reach out to me. Feel free. If I can't answer it, obviously I'll send you to Brett and the team back there, and they will be able to get your answered questions.
Hey, Zach does a good job on the road. I can't tell you how many people call and they go, hey, Zach told me about these batteries. I'm calling to get some information. And it's just one after another. So there's a lot of people, I guess, reaching out to him because he's staying busy answering those questions. But hey, we're excited to have Zach again for this year, and excited to see what he does in 2023. And I think it's going to be a good year.
All right. And anybody that wants to buy some batteries, where do they go for that?
MonsterMarineLithium.com. Yeah, that's our website. Monster Marine Lithium Batteries, our Facebook, Instagram. You reach out there. They can call us at 501-463-6545. That number does receive text too. There's a lot of people that will receive a call. So it's not just going to one person in our facility. It's going to multiple phones there. So usually somebody will answer, but if all the phones are busy, then they'll get a call back pretty shortly. So we're pretty easy to get a hold of.
Right. I'm excited to be a part of it. I think y'all have put together a pro staff that's second to none. I know there's some new additions this year. Just real quick, who's joining the team?
Now, I don't know everybody off the top of my head right now. We're still working out a lot of details, but a few new ones that are joining the team. We've got Cody Meyer coming on board, Jason Lambert coming on board, and Jimmy Washam. All three of those are coming on board as well. There may be a couple of more, but we're excited. I mean, we've got a pretty stacked pro staff. We've got, all the top of the line guys that are competing out there in the nation. So we get excited watching them every live stream that there is and competing. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see Zack at last Red Crest, because he was out there fishing. How dare him? But it was a good time out there as well.
Unfortunately, I'd rather be
out
there in the boat. Yeah, I don't blame you.
I'm gonna let y'all get off here. I'm gonna close this thing down, and man, let's do it again.
I'm ready.
All right, guys. Thanks, Zach.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys. That's it. Everything you need to know about lithium batteries now. Monster Marine, we're proud to partner with those guys at Bass 365. If you haven't downloaded the app, I know I say it every time. If you haven't downloaded the app, go download it. It's free. It's a lot of cool stuff. Once we get the season started, we'll be doing a lot for this on site this year. We've partnered with Yamamoto, Bill Lewis. We got a lot of big things planned. I know I had a lot of my friends from the Richmond, Virginia area here. If you're in the market for lithiums, and that's anybody, hit me up. Over at Bass 365, we'll get you the answers you need and the batteries that you're gonna love. So again, thanks everybody for joining in. Great show, and look forward to getting some more of these things done.